We are in our producer Emily's room because we were also helping her become a TikTok star. So, did I just say TikTok? I meant TikTok.
Go follow me.
Hello and welcome back. I'm excited to be back and talking about this new book. I did cheat a little bit because it was an audiobook rather than hard copy, but you know what? I still listen to it, I still have my thoughts, and I'm here to share them. So, I listened to Ayoade on Top by Richard Ayoade, and I first became aware of him about 7 or 8 years ago when I was stumbling around Netflix and I came across The IT Crowd. It stars him, Richard Ayoade, and Catherine Parkinson. All of them are actors, writers, directors, comedians from the UK. It's a little mix in there, so I'm just naming all of their roles. And Ayoade actually is an author as well. He has a couple of other books. I came across this one because I was watching Graham Norton, because what else am I going to do in quarantine when I'm not reading? And he was talking about it. So, this book is about Ayoade as he's watching the early 2000s rom-com starring Gwyneth Paltrow and Mark Ruffalo, The View from Up Top. And in the movie, it's kind of, you know, your typical boy meets girl gets mad at boy, blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, the main part of that story is she wants to become an airline stewardess, and because she thinks it'll bring her freedom and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, it's just your typical rom-com. But he found it really fascinating and essentially analyzed it. Don't freak out. It's not super academic and boring. He actually analyzes it in a really funny way. He'll describe the scenes. He'll make snarky remarks. And the kind of interesting thing that I really liked was he would take parts of the movie plot and he would kind of compare them to aspects of his own life, or he would make commentary on like Paltrow and her whole goop empire. At one point too, because music is kind of a big thing, he talks about the band Journey and their journey. So he describes it as a whole lot of journeys all kind of in one. And I just thought that it was really interesting. I thought it was really entertaining, and I really enjoyed it. Even though I found that I don't really care for audiobooks because I feel the pressure to just sit there and listen to them. But then as I sit there and I'm listening to the book, I'm like, I could be doing other stuff. So then I get kind of fidgety and restless, and, you know, normally I would listen to an audiobook in my car, but since I don't have anywhere to go, can't really do that. So even though I think I would have preferred to actually read a hard copy book of it, I did really enjoy the audiobook because since Ayoade read it himself, there's no question of, well, what was the author's tone here? Or what did they imagine feeling in this moment? Because you heard his tone, you heard his inflection and all of that stuff. And it was also just kind of interesting too because he would make snarky little side comments like, there's this one part pretty early on, couldn't give you a page number because audiobooks, where he's describing the way he essentially wrote it, and he's like, no, but it's really funny, like, you should get the book because the way I wrote it, it makes it more impactful because of reasons X, Y, and Z, but obviously you won't get that in an audiobook. And like I said earlier, it's not like, even though it's an analysis, it's not like a super academic, high-level analysis that's just going to bore you. It's funny, and it's snarky, and it's kind of like when you see a movie that really impacts you when you're trying to tell your friends about it, honestly. So if you're like me and you didn't have access to a hard copy book, even though audiobooks aren't my favorite, I do recommend the audiobook because I think it's just a really good supplement, alternative, what have you. Still got the story across, still was really funny. And I just overall really liked the fact that he used the movie that arguably is very basic as a way to discuss like life and just other random happenings. So that's all I have for Ayoade on Top. And next week I will be reading a book called Before the Wildflowers Bloom. And what's actually kind of pretty unique about this book is, even though it's historical fiction, it's based on true events. It takes place in Colorado, so living here, super cool too. And it was actually written by my cousin. So that's another little added bonus. So thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you'll come back again next week, and hopefully you'll check out my blog too. I'll include that in the link below as always. So thanks so much.